All right, call to order the meeting of the Norfolk School Committee for Tuesday, June 10, 2014. As before each meeting, we'll read our mission statement. Norfolk Public Schools offers a safe, joyful, and challenging learning environment that meets the needs of our diverse students. Through school, family, and community partnerships, we provide an education that inspires lifelong learners and cultivates caring and productive citizens of our ever-changing world. So roll call, please.
Jeff Chalmers.
Jeff Curry. Paul Cochran.
Mark Flaherty.
Thomas Doyle.
Ingrid Alardi.
All right, so we'll start out with public comment, as we actually have a number of folks here tonight. We'll kind of go over some basic ground rules with it. If you're going to say anything, please make sure you use the microphone, which I assume is floating around here somewhere.
Right there.
Very good, right out there. If you can state your name, address, limit your comments, which I think we have a pretty good idea what they're going to be in reference to. 3 minutes in length, and just please understand ground rules rise. It is not a back and forth. It is just your opportunity to comment. And then obviously during our discussion period, we'll bear in mind any and all questions that came up and try to go from there. So if there's any public comment, now's your time.
Right
Yes,
to the
please.
microphone,
Thank you.
yes.
My name is Jennifer Dyer, and I'm on Quail Run Road in Norfolk. I'm here as a taxpayer and a parent to ask the school committee to vote to keep MCAS as the assessment for Massachusetts students for a number of reasons. Massachusetts had the best standards and assessments in the country, as proven by our students' achievement year after year on the NAEP tests. Common Core standards and their aligned test park have never been tested or piloted anywhere. We would be paying for something we don't even know if it works. To which I would ask our school committee, has any parent come to this committee to say, gee, we need new standards, gee, we need new tests, our kids aren't getting into college, our kids aren't prepared for careers? I've never heard once from any friends or neighbors with children in the school system say that they're unhappy with the quality of education their kids are receiving. What Massachusetts had worked fine, and Massachusetts showed it's completely capable of developing standards, and our teachers are equally capable of developing high quality and creative curriculum to teach to those standards. Common Core and its nationalized tests will take away all that our state has worked so hard to develop and already has spent hundreds of millions of dollars to develop. And it will take away our teachers' abilities to be creative and flexible with our very diverse students that you mentioned in your mission statement. We already have, as an example, how our federal government fares when it attempts to impose a one-size-fits-all approach to a very complex situation, Obamacare. And now Massachusetts has successfully implemented its own universal health care previous to Obamacare. And we were capable of addressing that situation on our own. Flash forward today, and Massachusetts has to go along with this imposed federal structure, spends $140 million to implement something we've already implemented, and lo and behold, we're spending another 100 and some million to fix it. The federal government is trying to take over education the same way they took over healthcare, and they are failing miserably with healthcare. So I ask the school committee, do you really want to risk that kind of failure with another untested and unproven federal program with our own children? And make no mistake, Common Core is a federal program. You only have to spend a few minutes researching it to know this was not voluntary. It was being bribed by the race to the top dollars, and now states are being blackmailed if they attempt to back out because they realize it's not good for their state. And thankfully, many states are backing out. So why would our school committee choose to move forward with Common Core in park when on any given day, school districts and entire states across this country are passing legislation against taking nationalized tests and backing out of Common Core in general? I've done a lot of research on Common Core, both for and against. Two statements that I've read really stick out in my mind. The first is this: at this point, Massachusetts, there is no need to follow those whom we already lead. The second is this: if Common Core and the park tests are as great as everyone proclaims them to be, they will be great 3 or 4 years from now. What is the mad rush for every state or district to adopt this? It's better to hit pause and wait for results. Let those states where Common Core is in fact a step up to their current standards, let them pilot it and let them pilot park. And when our state sees their results, then we can decide whether to abandon what we know works and what we know gets our kids into college. Lastly, parents who are against Common Core are not against having standards. We just want high standards, standards that were developed in Massachusetts for Massachusetts, tests that were developed publicly and with input, not tests that were developed privately and imposed. Thank you for listening to my concerns.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kayleen Colgan, and I live on Berkshire Street. And I am here tonight because I believe in education excellence, because I believe Massachusetts had that. I will say that in the last, I think it was last 4 administrations of the nation's report card, Massachusetts scored the highest out of all the states in the country in every grade level. And we have become internationally competitive in science, but we stand to lose all of that, all of it, because of this federal intrusion on education. I do not believe the PARCC or Common Core represents education excellence. I furthermore believe that the PARCC is an insult to our teachers. I also believe it is a detriment to our children. You only have to look online to read from parents about the various challenges that their children have had with the PARCC exam. Ambiguous questions, unclear essay prompts. It is really a horribly written exam, and it is not a good measure of reading comprehension. The MCAS, on the other hand, was developed in Massachusetts. And the MCAS was a wonderful tool that we spent $100 million on in intensive research and development. And I believe that we need to continue with the MCAS. I believe that we have high quality standards, our old standards, that is, not the Common Core standards. And I believe that we need to keep the MCAS in Massachusetts. I also want to say that according to state and federal law and ethical standards for human research, no one can compel anyone to take part in an experiment, let alone minor children. Our children should not be subjected to pilot testing. The MCAS was designed the right way. It took years of research. They are thrusting this test on our children. It hasn't even been tested yet. Why would we throw everything away that was working? I hope that you feel as I do, compelled to do what's best for our children, to maintain high quality standards and achievement tests. It is time to fight for the MCAS, and I hope later we will fight to get back our Massachusetts standards. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Patrick Toohey. I'm from Applewood Road. I want to congratulate the 2 other residents of Norfolk who gave wonderful statements, and pretty much I don't want to repeat what they said, so I'm just kind of breeze through. And a lot of the same talking points and a lot of the same research that we both have done extensively. But I also want to say that the PARCC test, as the lady stated, the MCAS test was developed and owned by the people of Massachusetts. It can be edited, it can be reviewed, and it can be improved on. The PARCC test was developed in private, behind closed doors, by non-educators, by consultants and bureaucrats and money men. It's copywritten, it cannot be edited, it doesn't take feedback, it can't get results on their pilot testing. Who writes the questions? I mean, all these questions should be raised when you're deciding to replace a proven tool that we've been using now, that we spend valuable resources on, to replace it with something that you don't know nothing about, the people who wrote it you don't know nothing about, and the money where it comes from you don't know nothing about. So who does this PARCC test answer to? Does it answer to the people, or does it answer to bureaucrats and private companies who want to place their students on a career development path from K through 12, and then put them in the jobs they think is good based on the results of their test? Then you get the teacher side of it. Teachers, if they fail to educate their classes, do these results come back in and form an evaluation on their performance? Teachers can't pick their students. Some students are very good, some students are mediocre, some students are not. It could be family life, it could be anything. And the teacher shouldn't be held responsible for that based on test results and an evaluation form. So I implore you, when you do make your decision, please think of all the outcomes. All the points these ladies pointed out are true. If you've been to any one of the forums in the state of Massachusetts that's being held by Dr. Sandra Stotsky and Jamie Gaz of the Pioneer Institute, Dr. Stotsky was one of the persons who developed the standards, the Massachusetts frameworks, and had input on the MCAS testing. And she was also a member of the Mass State Board of Education. She knows well what went on behind closed doors, and she's not allowed to speak about it because she was on the validation committee for Common Core. They had to sign an oath, whatchamacallit?
Non-disclosure?
Non-disclosure form, thank you. Non-disclosure form that she couldn't divulge anything that was discussed in the validation committee meetings. Why is that? These are public standards for public students, for public schools. Why couldn't she talk about the validation of that test and those standards? Because it's private, it's copywritten. If you guys vote for this, and school committees across the state and country go with Common Core, Park, Smarter Balance, you're going to make yourselves obsolete. Because the orders are going to come down from top down, and you guys are just going to be administrators. You have the power to stop this. Every school committee does. Remember, we elect you to oversee the school committee. Superintendent works for you. You can have the power. Do some research and make sure we make the right decision if you don't have it tonight. But I implore you to do so for the future of this country and our children. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Question for you guys. Any one of you educators?
Jeff, we're not doing,
Oh, I'm sorry.
remember?
I'm sorry.
So during our discussion period, we'll discuss whatever points they've raised. Any other public comments? All right, seeing none, we'll move on. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Thanks.
Just a little housekeeping before we skip ahead, just for the other committee members, just for what I'm assuming is most of the folks here are for the MCAS Park discussion. We're going to bump that up. We had Kelly's presentation listed ahead, so Kelly, if you don't mind, we'll just switch you. So give you an extra 10 minutes there. All right, so we'll go through our other stuff first, and then we'll get into that discussion momentarily. So we'll skip ahead. Correspondence, we do not have any. And then we will move into the chair report. We've got a few items. I'll recognize a couple long-term teachers for their awards they recently got. The Norfolk County Teachers Association Annual Awards Banquet was held last week, and 2 members from the schools were honored. Rita Boyd, who was assistant to the resource/inclusion teacher for grades 3 and 6, was an honor award recipient for 25 years of hard work, unbelievable dedication to the students and teachers in Norfolk. Her positive attitude, caring demeanor create a comfortable environment in which the students learn and grow. She's always willing to go above and beyond, lending a hand to staff both inside and outside her grade level. And her professionalism and patience are a nice blend for these indispensable colleagues. So congratulations to her for being recognized for that. It's very nice to see. And then moving on, Noreen, is that Linja? Lilja, my apologies. Lilja, even more years of experience, 33 years, 24 of those with us. She was honored as a service award recipient. She is a speech and language pathologist. She's a model of the heartfelt professionalism in meetings with parents and staff, as well as her work with students from preschool through grade 6. Noreen also served as a mentor to special educators new to the school system, participated in the education support team, and supervised clinical fellows with the American Speech and Hearing Association. So again, congratulations to both of them. It's a wonderful honor for the both of them, and very nice to see. A couple budget transfers that we need to do. Actually, maybe you want to do sort of the...
Sure. We are recommending that the committee vote to, we did not spend the $20,000 in legal services this year out of the district budget, and we're recommending transferring that money to the building maintenance account for H. Olive Day. We had some capital expenses this year. It included contracting with an engineer to design the sprinkler repair project, which was about $6,000, carpet replacement in several classrooms, which is about $9,000. We have a movable wall in the cafeteria gymnasium area that had to be repaired. That was about $2,400. And then during the April spring break, we refinished the stage floor. So we are requesting the school committee vote to approve the transfer of the excess in legal services to fund the building maintenance needs at the H. Olive Day.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? Jeff, Paul, just so you know, this is something we have to do beyond a certain dollar amount per policy. It has to be brought to a vote, so that's the reason for this. So,
Okay.
so all in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion passes.
What is that threshold?
It is 5,000 is the
What was that?
threshold? Your individual threshold, is it 5,000?
I'm not sure. I think it is.
Yeah.
I'd have to check with Donna. I think it is.
So any amount 5,000 or below, the superintendent can choose to move on their own.
I think beyond that comes here.
Correct. So last item that I would have is, skipping ahead here, did everybody get a chance to read the superintendent goals? So basically, the evaluation subcommittee established areas of focus for Ingrid to work on for the current year under each of the 4 standards of the various evaluation. And then she's provided and obviously, as you've seen in great detail, the update on the various initiatives, strategies, and actions that she's taken to meet each of these performance targets. So this is a pretty lengthy document that Ingrid put together. I don't think I ever did this much in any of my schoolwork, so I'm pretty impressed you did.
I think that might have been
I'm happy
all
to
of my
answer any
schoolwork.
questions
I
anyone
was
has.
to say, I
about
heard
any
of
it.
people like you did this much work. Anyway, moving on. Do you guys have any questions specific to this? I mean, for my 2 cents, I'm obviously perfectly satisfied with what was done.
I am as well.
Absolutely.
I'm not there spacing this on the length of it. It may actually, the content is actually more important, but I think
Well done.
everything in there is
She always
what we're
gives-
looking for.
Yeah, she always gives us very in-depth stuff.
Correct.
And it's always good.
So then we need to then
Vote to approve?
vote to approve these in order to say that she's satisfied the goals that were set aside or set up for her by the subcommittee. So I need a motion for that.
All right, I'll make the motion.
I'll second the motion.
Any further discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion passes. All right, so then as mentioned, we'll move on to the superintendent report, and then we're going to move up. First off, that will be the park and MCAS discussion and vote, and then we'll do Kelly's presentation second after that, so thank you for that.
Sounds good.
You ready?
Okay, so as Thomas mentioned, that it's my recommendation, I want to review regarding the park and MCAS decision for the upcoming school year. I did provide you a summary in the packet of the background information, and I'll just kind of walk through that tonight. I think we had copies. Did everybody in the audience have copies? No? We don't usually get a big audience, so if some of the teachers don't mind, if anybody has the packet, passing it over, that would be great.
Never mind.
Yeah, okay. So districts have been asked to make a decision in the upcoming year whether to remain with the current MCAS assessments or to transition to the park assessment. At this time, it's my recommendation to the school committee that we remain with the MCAS assessment for several reasons. This year, we did have 2 of our 4th grades that participated in the park field test sessions for the end-of-year assessment in math. It was a great opportunity for our district to assess the technology capacity that we have to administer an online assessment. I believe that regardless of the decision a year from now that the Board of Education makes, whether we move forward with Park or with MCAS, if we remain with MCAS, it's the intent of the department to start to transition that and rewrite that assessment to be an online assessment. There's several reasons for that. The current MCAS tests we take in March and in May. They are hand-scored, so when the kids take the test, we then box them and send them in. We don't receive results on the current MCAS test until August. They're typically embargoed so that we can proofread, make sure that everybody's accounted for, and they don't get released until September. So there's really, for some students, a 6-month lag time between test taking and our receipt of the results. So the Department of Ed needs to think about that moving forward. The other issue we have with the current MCAS test is because they are locally developed, there is it is a very time-intensive process, and it is a significant cost. As a result, about 6 years ago, the Department of Ed, when they released the MCAS results, originally, when MCAS was first rolled out, when they released the results, they released the entire MCAS exam so that we could take the data, we could look at what kids did well and what kids struggled with, and if there was a question, say 30% of our students missed, we could go into the test, look at that individual item, and really make some curriculum decisions. Was it a content-based gap for kids? Was there something in the vocabulary and language of the question? Was it the structure of the response that was a problem? And then we could make informed curriculum decisions from there. But about 6 years ago, because of the cost of field testing and piloting new MCAS items and writing the test, the Department of Ed made a decision that they're no longer releasing the full test. So they hold items every year. So we will get, I would say maybe 60% of the test is released. But the problem is often the questions that our kids struggled on are unreleased items. So that's another issue that the department needs to work on. However, at the same time, I think there's some ambiguity across the state whether or not we're moving forward with PARC. Preparing for PARC does require a lot on the backside from the technology department in terms of getting the equipment ready, making sure that, that the test is loaded, things like that. The other issue that we have at the Freeman Kennedy, when we did our MCAS analysis, we did have some concerns. Our students perform very well on the MCAS. They're high achieving, but as a district, we're always looking for opportunities where we can strengthen and grow. One of the areas that we've targeted was students' response to open response test items. Open response items are items where questions is asked and students have to generate a written response and back up their argument and their conclusion. Our students do well on that, but they don't do well as we think that they could. So that's been a focus area for us for the last couple of years. We've at the Freeman Kennedy, they've implemented a new writing program at 6th grade, and it rolled down to 5th grade this year. It's not really a comprehensive writing program, but it's an organizational approach to help kids plan for nonfiction content writing. So we're 2 years into this. I think if you change assessment measures at this point, it'll be very difficult for us to evaluate the impact that that program's had on our curriculum and the achievement of our students. So that is one thing. In addition, the state's recommendation for moving forward with PARC, what they're suggesting the advantage to districts is that it gives kids practice and experience with taking an online assessment. Because regardless, as I said, of whether we go forward with PARC or MCAS, down the road, it is going to be an online assessment. However, I believe that because we participated in the pilot, we know what skills are required for students to be able to demonstrate their math performance and their English proficiency in an electronic format. We can integrate those skills into the regular technology curriculum. I think that's richer for our students. It will make sure that whenever we transition to an online assessment, that they're well prepared for that. So I don't really see that as a benefit for us right now. So my recommendation, and the final thing is right now, Freeman Kennedy is designated as a level 2 school. We're a level 2 school because our special education subgroup missed the state performance target by a very narrow margin. It was like 0.5% last year. And we, with the new supports and things that we've put in place, believe that we have the opportunity to move back to a level 1. I think if you change the assessment category and the format, that could be at jeopardy. So my recommendation at this point would be for the school committee to vote to remain with MCAS for the upcoming 2014-15 year. Happy to respond to any questions.
All right, we'll just have a discussion at this point with it. So,
You sounded like you had a question earlier, Jeff.
Oh, not necessarily questions, but comments. The amount of work and research I've done in PARC in the last 6 months and everything that came into play. I mean, I've been bombarded by it from KP as well as here. Just the places that I've gone to review, heard speakers. There's no question, there's no need to reinvent the wheel. I mean, MCAS was established for one specific reason. It was done locally to basically listen to the federal government to try and jam something down our throat with stuff that they don't even know much about and haven't done enough testing. I'm not going to be the guinea pig, and I certainly am not going to make the kids the guinea pig. I think the school system, the way it is, should be implemented, it should be developed, it should be strengthened, and I don't see why you would want to take that type of specialty away from the teachers who already know how to do this properly and are experts at it.
See, I agree too with the comment that was made earlier about if it's good now, it'll be good a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years down the road. As people know, when we were talking about the piloting of it here, doing the tests here, we all voted that we wanted to give the parents an opt-out, and we were told we weren't allowed to, and that kind of left a bad taste in my mouth to begin with when you're saying your kids are going to be used as a guinea pig and there's nothing you can do about it. I wasn't happy about that. I also don't like the fact that this is an untested, unproven program, and so until it gets proven, I don't think we should implement it, quite honestly,
Any other comments, thoughts? Yeah, and just looking this over, I think I agree overall with the sort of overriding point here. It seems like this maybe possibly somewhere down the road could be a perfectly viable product, but that seems to be a complete unknown at this point. And I just don't see the sense of switching from something that we know works, we have a level of comfort with. Yes, like you mentioned, it could certainly improve as far as the online portion of it and quicker results, and that's fine. That's tweaking here or there. That's not blowing everything up and starting all over again with something that may or may not work. Not to devolve into a political thing, it just the process in which this has been developed has been opaque at best, and a little, I don't know, it does kind of not sit quite right with me. I think there's just a more open process that should be done. If the end result is we want to ensure that the children get the best possible education, great, we all agree on that point. Well, then there seems to be a huge group of people we're not getting input from, whether that be teachers, whether it be parents, whether any number of folks. And it seems like sort of this close-knit community has sort of made these decisions. So that's, to me, it just doesn't make any sense to me. I think MCAS clearly makes the most sense for us at this juncture. So there's nothing I've read, there's nothing I'm aware of in reading through this memo again, reading through the other materials with it, various online research. I don't see anything there that would give us any reason to switch. All right, so that being said, do we have a motion then?
I'll make a motion.
I'll
make a motion to stick with MCAS.
I'll second the motion.
2014.
Yeah, let's
2014.
2014 school year?
Yes.
I'll second the motion.
Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion unanimous.
All right, the next thing that we have on the agenda, we have thank you to all the teachers that are here tonight. I'm sure Kelly will introduce them. They have been serving on the Science Curriculum Review Committee. I think if you remember a couple of years ago, presented to the school committee a curriculum review cycle, which would identified an area of focus each year where we're looking at all of our data, we're looking at the best practices, we're looking at literature, and we're coming to the committee with recommendations for how to improve our programs. So the Science Curriculum Review Committee had that task this year, and they are here tonight to share the results of their review of our curriculum programs and the recommendations for moving forward. So I will turn it over to Kelly. We're going to move so that you guys can use this, so we'll be in the audience.
I'm assuming I'm going to need one of these mics to kind of pick up my voice, right? Would that be close enough? Okay. I'll get up close if I have to. How's that? Okay. I'm Kelly Whitmore, and I am the assistant principal here at the Freeman Kennedy School, as well as a math and science curriculum coordinator. And as Dr. Alardi stated, I'm here today to bring you the information on our science curriculum review. And also, as she said, the first thing I'd like to do is I'd like to thank the Science Curriculum Committee. Over the past year, I cannot tell you the amount of time they've put in to looking at various science programs, doing surveys. You'll hear about the entire process. And I know that we, often talk about the fact that when teachers are on committees, that they get stipends and that sort of thing. Well, I have to tell you, they put in at least double the hours that they had to put in because of their dedication to finding the right science program for this community. And I think they've done that. And now I'd like to announce them for you. Our pre-K teacher is not here tonight. Her name is Jill Levy, and she's looked very hard at finding just the right kind of program for that pre-K group of children. In kindergarten, we have Kathleen Murphy-White, who's there in the back. In first grade, we have Jen Rader, who's right there next to her. Our two second grade teachers, unfortunately, could not make it this evening, Donna Anderson and Judy Nizwicki. In third grade, we have Robin McFadden. Fourth grade, Amy Bennett. Fifth grade, Ellen Horton. And in sixth grade, Sarah Logan. I know, they sat, it was very nice the way they sat in order for me. And again, like I said, the amount of work they've put in, the dedication has just really been wonderful, and they've been a great team for me to work with. So how did we all start with this? Well, there were quite a few steps in the process. As Dr. Lardy said, a few years ago, the school committee set up a rotating list of when we'd be looking into different curriculum areas. In 2000, 2013, 2014, we're dedicated as a year to look into our science curriculum. What made it a little bit of a tricky year is when this year comes up, we're also getting the next generation science standards coming out at the same time, the NGSS. And what made it difficult is, although the next generation science standards on a national level have been accepted, on our state level, they are still in the in-comment stage, and they should be accepted soon. And they made a few changes in the standards from the national, which I won't need to go into now because it doesn't play a large role. They're almost exactly the same. The next step that they did is, after reviewing all the next generation science standards, which may I add we had to do twice, because we had to do it once in the beginning when the state standards weren't out, and then we were back looking at the programs, we had to do it once again, because now they changed, the mass copy was out, so we had to look at everything. We designed a survey to see exactly what teachers and parents thought about the science that is currently being taught. What they thought was good, what they thought was bad, what they thought should be tweaked, what they thought should be added. And then what we did is we came up with criteria for looking at all new programs. And when we started this, we said, okay, what should we do? Should we keep what we have and add to it? Should we look for an entirely new program, or somewhere in between, or put together parts of several different programs? So it was quite a large task we had in front of us. Again, as I said, we then had to look at our units again to go through this process and say, how do we align our current units with the NGSS, the state NGSS, when it came out? And then we had to investigate and review programs. So the first step was the parent survey. And we were happy to see that between the two schools, we had 206 responses. 2/3 of them were not familiar with our Science Learning Expectations document. I don't know how many of you have gone online to look at our Science Learning Expectations document, but it's been up for a couple of years now. So I have to say I was a little bit disappointed that 2/3 were not familiar with that document. But that's okay, because I'm going to have a second chance when we put out the next document because of the NGSS standards. Children across grade levels only sometimes shared their science instruction with their parents, which I also found to be a bit of a disappointment. But what made a lot of sense to me and to the people on the committee is what they talked about most often were their hands-on activities and the classroom discussions that they had. So basically what they were saying is when science kind of came alive to them, that's what they went home and they talked to their parents about. 95% of the parents believe that hands-on activities are the most important part of science instruction. Although parents feel their children read nonfiction well, they stated that they didn't always like to read science material unless it was in an area that they enjoyed reading about. So it wasn't like they just liked to read all nonfiction. It really had to be in an area of interest to them. What I found to be very interesting is when it came to the homework question was that in grades K through 4 and in grade 6, parents felt that more homework was needed. I don't know when there was a time before when parents actually said more homework was needed. So in the grade 5, parents were kind of split between it being too little homework and the appropriate amount of homework. That, I think, was the biggest surprise out of the survey for me. In addition, in grades 3 through 6, children study for their science test usually using study guides, handouts, and flashcards. And I found this to be very interesting. Less than a quarter of the children have visited a science museum, a zoo, or an aquarium in the past year. Considering we live in an area where there are so many great zoos and aquariums in the New England area, I was really quite stunned that was the case. Now, I do know that there are a couple of grade levels that do go on field trips to the zoo at least, and that might be part of the reason, but I would think over the course of all those years that with so many good science things in our backyard that more people would be taking their children to those activities. Parents, however, did say, and I think this is a good thing, maybe they don't know where exactly to go to see all these different science things. So they did say that they would like a list of places they could go and visit that was aligned to our standards, available online or somewhere so that they could then go and visit them. So I thought that was a very good thing. So it's not just that they didn't do it, but they really maybe don't know exactly how to go about finding the places that would of interest their children and that would align with what their children are learning. 25 parents said they would like to share their expertise with students in school. They range from doctors to x-ray techs to a geologist across many different occupations. And they said that they would like to, and we have their contact information. And as we get all of our new program in line, we're going to be giving them a phone call and trying to get them into our classrooms. As an aside, we just had a beekeeper come in the other night in third grade and for their unit. What was her name? The parent? And anyway, so the beekeeper came in and showed everything to the children, and the children were great. They came up to me in the hallway and talked about it. And so we'd like to get more of that enthusiasm, seeing actually science in work in the real world. And the 6th grade parents feel that Borndale is worthwhile financially, socially, and educationally. And I thought that was something that was really big because as the cost of Camp Borndale goes up every year and the cost of buses go up every year, it becomes quite an expensive trip. And it was nice to see that the parents did see the worth of this program and in all 3 areas because it was 3 separate questions, financially, socially, and educationally. So after we got the results from that, actually concurrently, we also did a survey of the teachers. And in grades K through 5, a third of the teachers teach more than one science class. The reason for that is there are some teachers that team teach. So a third of those teachers obviously team teach in some way. Now in 6th grade, as you know, we have most years 2 teachers that are teaching science, 1 on each team. This year was a little bit different because we had an odd number of teachers. At parent-teacher conferences, science is rarely, if ever, brought up by the parents. And I thought that was a little bit too bad because, if we got the kids more interested, the parents, I'm sure, would want to come in and talk about what was going on in science and how their children were doing. 85% of the teachers have not received any professional development in science given by the school district in the last 5 years. However, what's nice to see is that over 2/3 of the teachers have sought out a course or workshop in science on their own. So although the school has not been providing the professional development for them, they've been seeking it out on their own. Most of the teachers do not use common assessments or collaborate on the curriculum. Now, there are a couple of different reasons for why that is. Some of it is because, again, it was a large survey of the teachers, and as I told you, a third of the teachers co-teach in some manner. So some of them will say, no, they did not coordinate things because they were not part of the science program. However, this does seem to be a theme, one of the things we want to address when we're looking for a program of more common assessments. In grades 3 through 5, the teacher would like to see a lab dedicated to science experiments. Grade 6 does have a lab, which grade 5 sometimes uses, but again, if there's a conflict in time, it's basically a dedicated 6th grade lab, so things have to be juggled, but they would like a dedicated science experiment room. All teachers access the book room and integrate ELA into the science curriculum. And I thought that was I really like that question because we do have book rooms in both schools for every grade level. And it's nice to see that the teachers are accessing them and using them to integrate ELA into their science curriculum. As you know, in the new Common Core ELA standards, a lot of these new standards relate to both nonfiction reading and nonfiction writing. And what this means is they are taking that nonfiction area of science and really using it and exploring nonfiction reading in the science curriculum. The other thing that the teachers really appreciated were having the TPA-sponsored science presentations. We get many of them here at the school, and the teachers really believe they're worthwhile and thank the TPA for the way they support the teachers and the students in that way. And the other thing is that teachers said that they spend quite a bit of money on the supplies for science of their own money. Okay. Then we asked, what would teachers like? If money was of no issue, what would you like in a new science program? And in general with PD. They said they'd like PD for time to explore the frameworks. They said they would like some prep time before science labs. One of the concerns is when they do elaborate science labs that they have a lot to assemble beforehand and a lot to clean up afterwards. They said they would like more hands-on presenters from the outside. They said that they would need professional development on the units, to design new units, to compare the units they have to the frameworks, and to compare the different ideas the teachers have on the same team. And again, they wanted a dedicated lab. They also wanted some more high-interest level textbooks. We do have a lot of, as I said, and as you saw, they access the ELA room, but there are a couple of gaps in some areas. And the gaps with the new GSS are going to become slightly larger, so they'd like to be able to shore that up. They also would like to have more field trips that are related to the science curriculum areas. And they would like more time to teach science. More than half of the teachers teach science about 120 minutes a week on average. So that's basically about 2 out of 5 days that they're teaching science. When you look at the 150 minutes per week, that basically is up in grades 5 and 6. Grade 6, again, has a slightly different schedule, so they're teaching it every day of the week. And grade 5 has, because it's the MCAS year for science and technology, they tend to spend more time in science that year. So after we got all that results, we said, okay, so what are we going to do with this information? So what we did is we sat down and we assembled a list of things that we are looking for in a new program. And the first thing we wanted was for it to align with the new Massachusetts standards, the new NGSS. And this is a very important thing, the next bullet, is that there's hands-on science and there's inquiry-based science. And a lot of experiments that children have done through the years are really hands-on experiments. Very often the teacher models it first, the students do the work, and then they come up with a conclusion at the end. What we were looking for was something deeper, which is an inquiry-based science program, which means instead of giving the children the answers, instead of modeling all for them, that they do a lot of putting it together themselves, where they're allowed to ask questions. And some of the questions might not even be able to be answered. But the idea is we want science to be more thinking. I mean, some of the great advancements that we made are people that come up with an idea, and then they try to set out to build it, to find a solution to it. And that's the difference between inquiry-based and hands-on. The other thing is we have wonderful technology in our schools here. So we want a program that is technology infused, where you can use iPads, where you can use laptops, where you can do presentations, where you can, there are digital thermometers and different things that you can use in science programs that can hook up to all of your computers to make it more like a real scientific lab. They also wanted something where you are asking more higher level thinking questions, which means you really want some kind of science journal where the children can jot down their notes and their ideas and feel free to put down answers to questions or asking their own questions as the labs develop. They also want quality assessments. Not only quality assessments, but quality common assessments, so that as we give children tests after each unit, all of the tests are the same, and we can judge where all the different students are, similar to the way we do it in ELA and mathematics now. The other thing that we want to have is vertical integration. We want to make sure that each year builds upon the other year, and that flow continues. So what they learn in first grade, they build on in second grade, and so that they're using that knowledge. One of the problems we have when it comes to fifth grade, and Ellen's here as a fifth grade teacher can vouch for, is that not necessarily does every fifth grader remember everything they learned in third grade. So in order to prepare them for the MCAS, they really have to do quite a bit of review. And if you set up a science program with vertical integration where the same themes are in the same vocabulary being used throughout and one unit is built upon the next unit, then they will start to remember more of the information on their own. We also want some flexibility as the NGSS evolves. As I said, this is not a document that the state has actually voted through yet. It plans on voting it through. That is what's going to happen. But as of now, it's not been voted on yet. As I said, they're still receiving comments on it. So we did not want to get into a program that once we got into it, if the NGSS changed at all, that we could not get those changes. That was very important to us, because if we're going to put out a lot of money for a program, we want to make sure that there's flexibility involved in case the NGS changes. And that might sound like a funny thing, because you might be sitting there saying, well, of course the publishers would do that. Well, we found out as we went through, some of the publishers wanted us to do a 5-year buy, but not give us any update when the NGSS became final. So that wasn't necessarily, the flexibility wasn't necessarily there. And the other thing that the teachers really wanted was strong professional development. We were looking for a program that would have professional development come out, meet with us, so that we would really get off and running on a good foot when we get a new science program. So these were the publishers that we investigated: No Adam, Pearson, Foss, McGraw-Hill, Harcourt, Houghton Mifflin, National Geographic, and Sangari. And I will say, all of the programs had very good points. And some of them were extremely expensive. No Adam in particular, the first one that was up there, was particularly expensive. And some of them are not going to catch up the NGSS for a while, 2 or 3 year lag time. And since this is our review year, we want to get something as close as we could. And some of them, just when you're dealing with them, are difficult to deal with. National Geographic was more like a basal science program with a lot of reading. They all had their pluses, they all had their minuses. So after we called them all in and we met with them over the course of a couple of days, we then made our choice. Now there's time for a drum roll, right? We should have a drum roll right now. Our choice is Foss Science. We really felt that Foss was the best for our needs. So why did we choose Foss? When I go to the next couple of slides and I talk about why we chose Foss, these are all the reasons why we chose them. They're not necessarily in the prioritized order for why we chose them, but these are the different reasons why we chose Foss. First of all, it aligns with the NGSS. It's inquiry-based, not just hands-on. It's technology-infused. It has those higher-level thinking questions and a science journal. It has quality assessments. It has vertical integration. It's very flexible as the NGSS evolves, and has strong professional development. So those key things that we were looking for, Foss had all of them. The other thing that was very nice was that teachers are familiar with it. Over here on the side here, I have a couple of Foss kits that if anybody wants to go through later, they can go through. And this is, I think, the second generation Foss kits. And what's nice about them is they've used them before. They know about how they work. Now, this third generation NGSS issue is very much different in, not that it doesn't have all these components and it doesn't have the boxes, but the way they go about doing the projects, the questions they're asking, that is much more inquiry-based. Not to mention the fact that now they also come with a textbook, which is a single subject book based on whatever the unit in the box is. And it's at the correct reading level for the grade that is written for. There's a lot of technology. The technology components are great. They're great in many different ways. First of all, every single thing that the teacher receives in terms of a teacher manual is also online. So they can go in. There are tests online. When they take the test, they can take the test either on paper or they can take the tests online. If they take the tests online, then we get a printout, a graph. The report notebook they gave us on tests was about this thick. So there's plenty of different ways to be able to sort through and look at the information that we get from those tests. Teacher PD came with it for what we bought. So they'll be able to come out and go through the boxes and show the teachers the way they've changed, show them the updates, show them the way how this becomes the next generation science standards. Online are module summaries and updates. So anytime they update any information, for instance, let's say Foss themselves find a very good website to show measuring matter, then they will actually contact you and that will go up. And now you'll have another way that you can go online and see something. They have virtual investigations online. What makes that very important is that if a student is absent and they miss a lab, they actually be able to go online and be able to watch the lab. The teacher can assign that to them and you can watch the lab. So no longer do they miss the lab, do they miss that inquiry, do they miss out on class discussion even after the lab because they didn't take part in it. Instead, what they can do is they can go home and they can watch the entire lab take place online, which is a big plus. They have a media library. There are videos that you can watch, there are CDs you can watch, there are links to other websites that they hook into so that you can look up information based on whatever your unit is. They also recommend books that you can use. They give you class pages, so you can look on a class page and form your own page with your homework assignments, with what's important, with websites you want your children to go to. And lastly, it's also all their units, all their information, anything they're showing comes up on a smartboard. So all the smartboards can be used for all of this. What does each unit have? Each unit has science journals. Now, what you'll see later when I go through what the cost of this is, you'll notice that I actually put science journals down. The science journal that FOSS gives us is a very expensive, shiny, stapled together pieces of paper, which we don't need because we can do our own. But what they do have is you have all these stickers or printed out of what the questions are that you can put into these booklets. So they prepare the information for you. There's remediation and RTI activities. So if a child is having difficulty understanding a concept, both online and in print, there are ways to remediate that. All the tests have hot questions, which is higher order thinking questions. Some of the questions are designed by FOSS. Some of the questions actually come from our own MCAS tests that they have put into these tests. They have focus questions. Now, the next 8 things that I'm going to talk about, as you can see, all have asterisks next to them. That is because the NGSS, that's what they call the 8 practices of science and engineering. If you came in the past for our presentations about mathematics, math has all those mathematical practices that teachers teach with. Well, the NGSS has come out with their 8 practices of science and engineering. And in order for the children to really learn and understand and inquire and bring things to a higher level, they really need to have these 8 practices in place. And the FOSS kits do this. They have focus questions. They're asking questions. They're defining the problem. You have the ability to analyze and interpret data. You plan and carry out investigations, and you do this by developing and using models. And what's nice is the next one is the link of using math, information, computer technology, and computational thinking all combined. So you're not talking about science as something that's just isolated as science, but you're talking about that science-math connection. You're constructing explanations and you're designing solutions. You're thinking. You're not just memorizing facts. You're not just watching an experiment. But instead of what you're doing is every single thing that you're seeing, you're thinking. You're thinking, how am I going to use a model or develop a new model? Okay, what am I going to use this information for? How am I going to construct those explanations? And how am I going to design that solution? And sometimes you'll be doing it with the pieces from the kit. And sometimes you'll be taking it higher and saying what comes next, and you'll be writing about that in your science journal. You're engaging in argument from evidence. That's really out of the ELA framework. So there's also a connection, not just with the NGSS and mathematics, but also with ELA, between your nonfiction reading and between the fact, excuse me, you're engaging in argument from evidence. That's a key to the new ELA Common Core and what they want from persuasive writing and argument writing. And then lastly, you'll be obtaining, evaluating, and communicating information. And when you're talking about obtaining, evaluating, communicating, you're talking about bringing basic science skills to a much higher level, a higher level than really the students have been using on a regular basis. One of the important things with the FOSS Kit, too, was that because of the NGSS just coming into place, we needed flexibility. And the FOSS people have given us that flexibility. Not everything is yet ready to go in September. Most of the units are, but not all of them, because they're changing them as we speak to correlate with the NGSS. The area where they really are not ready right now is in 6th grade. So for 6th grade, they are giving us the 6th grade curriculum on consignment, which means that this year we will not be paying for the 6th grade curriculum. That will be something we'll be doing the next year. But we might not like it for 6th grade. 6th grade goes into a middle school area. We may not think it's appropriate for middle school. It might be great kits for K through 5, but might not be for 6th grade. So this coming year, we'll be able to try out their new units. The other thing that FOSS is allowing us to do is we're going to be getting together with Rentham, Plainville, and King Philip Middle School. King Philip Middle School already came to a lot of our presentations that we had from all the different publishers. And now Rentham and Plainville are going to join in with us. And we're going to sit down, talk about the FOSS, pilot the FOSS, and again, have that conversation. Because as you know, that although we have 6th grade in our local schools, Rentham, Plainville, and here, that they go to a middle school where there happens to be an MCAS test in the middle school. And what the Kingville Middle Schools had to do generally through the years is teach a certain amount of the 6th grade curriculum so that they can, again, have the whole bundle that they need for their MCAS test. If we can all come together on one science program, it'll make it a much smoother transition for the children, for the teachers at KP, and it'll work out very nicely for everyone. The other thing is the teacher manuals for one of the FOSS kits in 3rd grade isn't ready yet. So what they've done is they have given us, they're starting by giving us the manuals that they have on consignment, and when the new ones come in, which they hope will be in the fall, we will get them as soon as they come in. So they've been very flexible, and any of the changes that they make, they will be making for us. And they were actually basically the only person that, major publisher, that was willing to do that for us. So that was a big plus too. Because again, we are in a little bit, you know, it's a transient time right now, switching from one to the other and seeing exactly what that final product looks like. So it's very important that if we're going to be spending this kind of money, that we are going to have some flexibility with the publisher. And that is what we get with this FOSS kit. So, this is the way all of the units, the buy is going to be for the budget. In pre-K, they have gone with a set of reading selections and activities because they don't have a hands-on science per se for that. They will be doing some things hands-on, but it's more of a reading selections, big books, small books for the kids. And what they're going to do is they've chosen units that are going to give them a good overview of what's going to be taking place in kindergarten. So it's going to be scaffolding that learning for them and developing some background knowledge for them before they go into kindergarten. In K through 6, there are 3 units each year, which works out perfectly for our trimesters that we have here, so that each marking term, the children will be starting on a new unit. And what we're going to be doing, instead of buying a box for every single teacher, we'll be buying a certain number of them, and they'll be rotating them through every single marking period. We'll be getting professional development. They'll be coming out, as I think I stated earlier, going through the boxes, showing us the changes. Because it's very important, because since we have used FOSS before, when you go into something you already have, the expectation is it probably has changed a little bit, but not much. Well, this has changed quite a bit. The whole way you were thinking has changed with the new FOSS program. The original buy, as I said, is going to be pre-K through 5. Grade 6 will be buying units in 2015, 2016. Again, as long as, if we try them out, we like them. Each year, there are consumables you have to buy. Because this is a hands-on science and they're doing a lot of experiments, there are a lot of small things that need to be bought every year, such as baking powder, vinegar, things like that. But there are also some other things that you have to buy, like cockroaches. Hissing cockroaches, I think is what they call them. Hissing cockroaches, and some worms, and a few little bits of animal life that we are going to have to buy each year. So the way that it breaks down is the preschool texts cost about $1,200. The modules for K through 6, $62,000, which again, 6 is on consignment. That price includes all the refills for next school year. So everything we're going to need for the 2015, so that's actually 2 years down the road. Next year you have the buy, and then 15, 16 you have all the refills. It also comes with a nonfiction library, which costs about $7,000. And the nonfiction library that they have directly relates to the units of science. And what is great about these are that they are level texts, and they come with graphic organizers and vocabulary and different activities and skill builders so they can have a better understanding, all children, but especially children who might have a slightly more difficult time understanding the reading. If you look at them, they look the same from the cover, but these are 2 different reading levels. So when children are looking at them, it appears to be the exact same book at the exact same level, but when you look inside of them, they're written at 2 different reading levels. And what's nice is, again, a lot of these really stick to a lot of the information that you need for the experiment and for background knowledge. And then other consumables. Maybe I should take a moment to explain the difference between refills and consumables. Consumables are the things that you throw away. Refills are because sometimes you need a certain number of product that is, let's just say, switches and things like that, that they're being used and can't be reused. That's a part of the refill kit. The refill kits are also because in order to have the rotation, we need to do 3, let's say you have 6 teachers and you have 3 classrooms doing it. That means everybody has to use a kit 3 times. You get 2 kits, you need a set of refillables so that they can use the kit the 3rd time. And professional development is also there. That's $4,000, but because of the size of our buy, they're giving that to us for free. So the total due on June 30th is $70,200. And future costs in the years to come, grade 6 is going to cost approximately $8,000 the following year. Down the road, for refill kits and consumables in 2016, 2017, would be about $7,800. And binders or journals each year, binders, memo books, whatever they'd like to use, will probably cost about $1,000 a year. So that's basically the setup for FOSS, and I think that when you look at all the products that are out there, and you look at what we wanted in the program, something that really was inquiry-based, something that connected math and ELA to science, and something where the children and the teachers are going to get excited about teaching and learning science, and really going forward with these new standards. And I think we made the right choice with FOSS. Does school committee have any questions?
Nice job, Kelly.
Nice. I'm sure you're going to read that.
Any questions for Kelly on the content of the science recommendations, the budget purchases? I'm going to keep her up here because she has to speak into the mic to answer you. So any questions for Kelly?
Couple questions.
Yeah, sure.
Professional development, when does that take place?
The professional development will take place in the month of October, I believe. What we're
Yep.
going to be doing is on the first day, the August day that we have with teachers, we're going to do an overview. In October will be when they come out, because that's when we have professional development time built in the schedule. However, I'm not going to wait that long, so I'm going to be getting into the different grade levels and grade level meetings prior to that with the rep from that grade level, so we can start going over the information before the FOSS person actually comes out to meet with us for the first time.
But the school committee approved a full professional development day in October, so our plan is to bring multiple reps out that day so that we have individual people from FOSS to work with individual grade levels.
Okay. One other question. The slide that listed the budget for this
Yes.
for this program, when you use the word budget, does that mean it's already in the current budget?
Yes.
It's already been accounted
Yes,
for?
we have, in the current budget, we have allocated $40,000 for new curriculum adoption. Our business manager and with working with the principals have been able to allocate some additional money that was unspent in the instructional supplies account. So we do have this amount of money available in that category, and we don't have to do a budget transfer. So the money is available for purchase.
Okay, great. And the bulk of this is essentially a one-time, whereas next year will just be
Right, yeah.
refills and consumables.
Yep.
The future costs, right?
And the 6th grade,
We're here, right,
Yep.
exactly.
a bit of a savings next year.
Yes. We knew when we budgeted that the science curriculum adoption is one of the most expensive of all the curriculum reviews. We had social studies last year, it came in closer to $45,000. But science involves technology equipment as well, so microscopes, lenses, all those kinds of supplies that are necessary for the labs. So we were aware of that and we planned for that throughout the year so that we would have the revenue for it.
Great. Thank you.
Cal, question. Upgrades? Bringing that type of software for K through 6, technology-wise, are we already set for it, or do we need to make any additional upgrades in order to?
No, we're already set for it.
Okay.
In fact, what impressed us about FOSS is that they were really able to use all the technology that we had, because some of the programs are getting more up to date they're getting more up to date in the technology part of it, but they're not really there yet, where FOSS already had everything set for the whiteboard and for using tablets and things like that. So actually, it was great that they were actually up to what we have.
And when the updates are made, how do the teachers know about the upgrades?
Through email.
Okay,
Through email. FOSS actually sends out an email when they make the updates.
okay, wonderful.
Very thorough presentation.
Great
And
job,
thank you
Kelly.
very much to all the
Thank
teachers
you.
coming tonight. They have a lot of nice
Thank you.
commitments lately.
And
so
and I'd
thank
also
you.
like to give a thank you, too, to the building principals, Lisa Hickey and Linda Balfour, and to Anita, who's been going through all the curriculum, different areas with me, because of all the support from all of them. And we've taken a lot of time out of classes to look at different things, and we've had to get subs, so it's been a lot of juggling. So I'd like to thank all of them, too, for helping out.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So we just need per policy, the school committee has to vote to approve new curriculum and budget. So we would need a motion to approve the purchase of FOSS for K-6 science for next year with sixth grade on consignment.
All right, I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Yes.
I think this is going to be a great decision for the district, and I think it will really improve the rigor of the science curriculum and give teachers the resources they need to run forward with it. So
Great.
Thank you for
Excellent.
that.
Cool.
Okay. We struggled a few things out of order. Please don't feel you all have to stay for the rest of the meeting. You have kids coming early, so please feel free to go. We won't be offended. The next thing, there's two things in your packet. One is just informational. It's an update for you on past due balances. At the current time, we have $7,428 in past due balances for kindergarten tuition. The preschool outstanding tuition is $3,176. SAC is high, $17,928 in past due SAC balances, and lunch charges, $3,176. So we have sent reminder notices out to families. Per the school committee policy, if balances aren't paid by the end of the year, the district does hold report cards, and families are not eligible to enroll in any tuition-based programs next year until they've either paid the balance or made arrangements for a payment plan with the district. So this has been an ongoing issue. Since the policy has come into place, it's better. Last year at this time, we were probably around 40,000 in past due balances. That was not including SAC, so it's better, but we are still struggling with the collections piece there.
Do we know how many payments that is for SAC? Because I noticed we got a number of payments listed.
Aging on the.
It's,
For every other-
yeah, it's difficult to break SAC down because different kids attend for different numbers of weeks, so it's a little harder to track. I can get you that data and the number of families, but I didn't have it, I don't have it
Okay.
readily available.
No, I was
And
just
their billing
curious.
structure is a little different than ours.
Okay.
Okay.
Two other questions.
Yeah.
The lunch charges, HOD and Freeman Kennedy, how does that add up to 3,100?
It doesn't look like we're 4 and some change.
529
It's change.
and change.
Yeah, it's the same one from from preschool past due balance.
Carry down.
Oh, okay, all right, so I'm sorry, we'll correct that. The lunch, the numbers underneath are correct.
Okay.
The
So it's $500 okay.
Yes, the
carried down from
past due
preschool.
amount from preschool carried down, so I apologize for that, we'll fix that. So it's about, roughly about 550.
So I have not read the policy on how late or no payments are dealt with in the following year, but what's after that? If I have a student,
School
if
committee
I have a
and the-
child, I'm sorry, that's in
Yeah.
kindergarten and they're going into first grade is, to pay for it, so.
Right. They wouldn't be allowed to enroll in SAC or any tuition-based after-school programs, but the school committee, basically, if people are 60 days past due, we can terminate the participation in the program. So some SAC families have got notice that the kids cannot continue to come until a payment plan's arranged. The glitch is when kids go from kindergarten to first grade.
Right.
The committee reserved the right in their policy to refer those to collections if you
Okay.
choose to do so.
And just to let you know, as far as the lunches go, the people that are over or that don't have money or past due, some schools give like a modified lunch. We've decided not to do that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, for the lunch, we provide a full
Yeah.
lunch if children are, they're little kids, and if they
Yep.
forget it, we're not going to single them out, so. Any other questions on the past due balances? We'll update you at the August meeting where we are. We have collected, which is progress, all the band and bus fees are caught up, so that's good. All right. The other thing is, on all the letters that we send out, the reminder notices, we do notify families that if there's financial hardship or exceptional circumstances, that we have a sliding fee scale and that they can make an appointment at the office to arrange a payment plan. And we have done that anytime we've had a request. So they only get the notice if they don't follow up, don't pay, and don't contact. Okay. The next thing is the kindergarten enrollment and programming. And I wanted to inform the committee that at the current time, our kindergarten enrollment for 2014 has shown a significant decline in the number of families choosing to register for the half-day program. At this time, we only have 5 students registered for the half-day program.
Wow.
While we will probably get some additional enrollment between now and the opening of school, I think it's fairly unlikely that we'll have enough students register to comprise a valid and reasonable half-day class. We would really be looking for a minimum of 12 students to have a balance in terms of the social needs and their educational needs. So my recommendation for right now, and Mrs. Balfour and I have met and discussed it and also talked to the kindergarten team, is we are required by law to provide a free half-day program. And what we'd like to do is integrate the students that have registered for the half-day program into 2 of our full-day kindergarten classrooms. We will arrange schedules so that the academics are delivered all in the morning time. The students will participate in their specials with their classes. And then I would like the committee to consider extending the half-day kindergarten day to 12:15. And then students from the half-day program would leave when the other students transition to lunch. In the afternoon, they would have lunch. They'll have their state-required rest time, which some rest more than others, but they'll have rest time.
Not mine.
And then they will do enrichment in the afternoon. So the academic program will be exactly as it is now. It's just that they will be integrated into a full-day class. So that would be my recommendation.
sounds good.
Inga, what kind of numbers do we typically get at the very end? I mean, if we haven't,
We
we've
will
only got
probably
5.
get another, it varies year to year. We did move our kindergarten registration up earlier this year, as you probably recall from prior discussion. So I think we've caught more families early, but we could pick up another 10 students. I just think it's unlikely that they'll all choose half-day. The trend has been that families are choosing the full-day option.
In the
If we
past-
had that situation, then we could certainly revisit this at a later time. But I think it's highly unlikely, and I think we should be planning staffing and programming based on the past data and trends.
So in the past, we haven't had a significant increase in the last minute?
Not in half-day, although last year, all of our full-day classes were over-enrolled and closed.
Okay.
So anybody that moved in the summer was required to go into the half-day. So we had low numbers in half-day, but we gained students because they didn't have a full-day option. Our total enrollment for kindergarten this time, I believe, Mrs. Balfour, you said they picked up a few more kids, so we're at 96 in 5 classes. So we're still under the policy limit and still have the capacity to absorb more kids in our full-day program.
Okay, thank you.
And currently, we're at about 100, is it 130 or so?
Yeah. So we closed the full-day kindergartens in March. So all new enrollment, we probably had 9 or 10 half-day, and then all new enrollment went into the half-day. So I don't expect that would happen again.
This might be slightly off topic, but this obviously frees up or creates some capacity for teachers.
Yes, we
Or
would
at
be
least
reducing a .5 kindergarten position and an assistant position. We do have some openings, so that staff would be reassigned, but it would realize a budget savings.
But I'm not really concerned about that so much as the educators following the kids. I mean, I don't know if this is a bubble or if first grade is currently at the 130 or so level, but
No, next year, it is sort of uneven in terms of our enrollment. We have 5 first grades this year, and we'll have 7 next year, so teachers are being reassigned from grade levels where there's a dip. We would expect there'll be a smaller number of first grades next year, but we'll need 7 second grade teachers where we'll only have 5 next year. So there's an annual sort of reassignment of teachers depending on the needs in this class size.
Okay, great.
Any other questions?
I assume then you just notify the parents of this?
We will. The school committee would need to vote to extend the day till 12:15 and to integrate the students enrolled in the half-day into the full-day program. Once the school committee votes, we will notify all those families.
All right, so we need a motion.
I'll make a motion to integrate the 5 students into the full-day program and extend the day
By 15 minutes.
by 15 minutes.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. The last thing that I have for you tonight is just informational. I'm required as a member of the BICO board to share with you their annual budget. So included in your packet is a copy of the certified budget for the BICO Collaborative, as well as the breakdown of their tuitions for all their different programs. And you can see in that what the member rate is and the non-member rate for annual tuitions for any of the programs that they serve. So that's just informational for you. Certainly happy to answer any questions. We have a BICO board meeting tomorrow, so.
Very precise surplus there today.
They do. They do.
It's not much of one, but it's a very precise number.
It is. They're very precise. So we do still realize a significant savings as members for when we place students in collaborative programs. It's about $8,000 on average per placement. That's all I have. Thank you.
All right. I don't know if we really have too much as far as the various committee reports. Has King Philip met, Jeff?
What's that? We met a couple weeks ago. We're going to be meeting again next week. There were three things that of any interest, really. One of them was public versus private. We talked a little bit about MCAS. There was a couple articles related to it. It's interesting to see how public is really becoming more of a success versus the private. That was an interesting topic. The other thing had to do with DECA. Everyone familiar with DECA?
No.
A little bit.
DECA is more of an entrepreneurial program that's in the high school. It's a wonderful program. It's actually nationally ranked. They've done wonderful with the program. I serve as an advisor on the board, so it's amazing to see some of these kids get up and actually speak in front of the public, sometimes or in front of dozens and hundreds of people. So it's amazing to see some of this. And like I said, they have national recognition, so it's amazing some of the teams that have gone to not only national competition but international competition. So great to see that stuff. And the last one was we had a reduction in budget. Went from a February budget that was at about 21 million and dropped down to 19.5. And that was from February to June. So they made a number of adjustments relative to it. That's it.
All right, thank you. Policy, I know just Matt, I don't know if you have any.
Yeah, we're working on updating the policy for Corey and fingerprinting. There's a lot that goes into that, so we got about a little over halfway through it today. So we're going to work on that and have it hopefully ready for first reading for the next meeting.
Okay. Right back to technology.
We're going to actually move that to August.
Okay. Easy enough. And then for building, there was some emails back and forth. We have a meeting 18th? June 18th. We've made, I'll call it progress with the sound issue here, in that they were able to do the testing, and essentially what we've been looking to do all along appears to be something that can be done. That's how I took it to me. So ideally, that will get that done, and ideally we can get the project wrapped up. There's still some other lingering issues going on, but that's probably the largest of them.
Yeah, the noise mitigation, the abutters are still concerned about the noise of the rooftop unit. So we hopefully will have a solution for that. We also have a number of pending items that were cut as the building project progressed because of budget funding. But now that we're ready to close out and we have a better sense of what the total remaining budget is, we're going to revisit some of those. Right. So we have a list of projects that we're hoping to get approved to fund through the building project while we have the funds and revenue available. So we'll be presenting that as well.
So it should be maybe 1 or 2 meetings at the most for that, and then that will be done, which will be very nice.
In the last meeting, we talked about Representative Dooley coming back and finishing out. Is he doing that?
We'll have to follow up if he's available for the 18th.
Yeah, I mean, we have 7 voting members,
Yeah,
so we,
but Paul had volunteered to fill the second spot for
Right.
school committee if Sean's not available, so we should check with him.
yeah, we'll keep you, we'll
Yeah.
tell you what's going on with that. If you could keep the 18th as a tentative, just,
Of August?
No, of
June.
June, next Wednesday.
so we're going to give you the least amount of notice possible.
And I actually think you have to go to
I
the
was
town
calling
hall
you
and get sworn in on
Surprise!
that one, too.
Okay.
And if you could do that now, that'd be great.
I'll be right back.
Great.
We won't wait for you. All right, so that's it for the committees. Moving on to new business, we have an application for a school partner renewal, which is the Lions Club.
They have it on the right form.
They resubmitted from last time.
Yes, so we were working with the right form this time.
Yep.
So I had gotten a copy of the old one before. So you can read through that.
We had talked about, Tom, we had talked about last year, about bringing that online digital. Have we done anything
We
about
do
that going
have the
forward?
forms available electronically, but a lot of groups choose to print them out and send them to us.
Versus filling them out?
Mm-hmm.
Really? That's interesting.
But we do
Like
have them
paper.
available.
Yeah,
online.
seriously, I mean, it'd go right into a nice database, we'd have all the information, be much simpler to do it. That's just me.
Shared drive.
We do have that option. We've worked with putting all the forms available online.
Yeah, it is there, it's just not something that's utilized, so
Ah.
change is hard. All right, so we need a motion for them, to approve them as a renewed partner.
I'll make a motion that we approve him as a school partner, or reapprove him.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Last thing, 2 more things. I just got to go through the minutes, and then we'll pick our next meeting, which will be in August, date to be determined. So I don't know if everybody's had a chance to flip through the minutes. Everything looked correct in here as far as I could tell.
Yeah.
So same thing, we need a motion to accept those.
So moved. All right, make a motion that we approve the minutes from the May 27th meeting.
I'll second it.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. All right, so let's set our next meeting date in August.
August 12th?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
I'm
Pardon?
away that week.
August, oh, you are?
I am away that week.
Fine. We'll do it without you.
You're welcome to, but I think we'll have a lot of business, so. I don't know if the 19th is a possibility for people.
Yeah, that works for me.
Yep.
Yeah, that works.
August 19th.
No.
Sure.
Hold on one second. Yes. Normally no, but yes. Hold on one second, please.
You guys have a set schedule for your meeting during the school year?
Typically,
No,
so.
we set them after each meeting as we go forward with them.
Most
Typically
typical
Second Tuesday is a good, once a
Once a
month.
month.
All right, so we're up to August 19th?
19th.
Is that good
Yes.
for everybody?
As far as I can tell.
All the school committee meetings are posted on the town government website, and you can, I believe, subscribe, and it'll send you the agenda and everything. Okay. All right.
And then you want to do can you do the policy meeting before the school committee meeting that they do?
They just
I think we
marked
need
it for
to meet-
6:30, so it'll be good.
Yeah, and I think we need to meet once more before that, because we need to have a draft of that ready for August. So can I email you both the potential dates?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. All right, we need
Okay.
executive session.
All right, so we now need to, we're going to go into executive session. Just so you guys know, this requires a roll call, so we'll have to go through that again. So, actually, this is a roll call.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
So we'll make a motion to go into executive session to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation, because discussing the matter in open session may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the public body, and not to reconvene in open session. So roll call, please.
Thomas, aye?
Jeff Curry?
Paul Cochran?
Mark Flaherty?
Thomas Doyle. All right, that concludes the meeting. Thank you very much.